Okay, so this is it. This is going to be the Untapped Ultimate Guide to everything. So I've been putting it off for a while. If you haven't seen my last video, which I'll put up on the screen right here, I did a video way back when. I think at this point it's like 6 to 8 months. I don't know. It was back when veggies was a thing and I hated it, and yeah. But right now, I wanted to go ahead and go through a completely new guide, going through pretty much the entire interface, going through how to make the deck, the hotkeys, everything, the spectate. So definitely, if you are new to Untap, if you are a beginner, if you haven't even touched the platform before, this is the video for you. No, I'm not a mod. No, I'm not anything as far as like sponsored or anything like that. I just play on it a lot, like a little too much, but I have stepped back a little bit, if anything, and I just wanted to help out others as I do with everything on the channel. That's the intention for the channel as well. So if anything, the first thing to know is that this is a website. Okay, a lot of people are asking, what do I download? What do I do? But this is a website. If you haven't realized that already, you just type in untap.in into the web browser, preferably Chrome. Now it supports Firefox as well, if you haven't noticed, and you just hit enter, just like you would do for like google.com, and then it brings you to that web page. All you have to do is sign up for an account. It's relatively easy. It takes like 2 seconds. You pick a username and then you go into it. So if I had to do it right now, this is the actual login page. This is registering. You just have to have a username, email, password. Say that you're not a robot. I mean, if you are, you know, I'm sure they're not going to discriminate, but that's really it. After you log in, you're going to go to your main page. To something to also realize is that this is not a DBS only type of website. There are other ones here. So if you look at the top right, there are all of the games supported for this. So like Force of Will, there's one game going on. I don't know what this is. I don't know. Now I'm kind of curious with Final Fantasy, right? Who knows? I don't know. I'm just checking. And then Vanguard. Okay, Vanguard. And then of course we have Magic, which is probably the most popular one on Untap, next to DBS right now. Of course we have Pokemon. I'm pretty sure we have Pokemon, just no one playing right now. We're gonna go ahead and focus on DBS. Most of the stuff that I'm gonna be going through is gonna be pretty similar as far as any other game I'm gonna be playing as well. So a couple of things to note is that I am on the Untapped type of deal right now. So if you are free, you only get you get as many games as you want. You can make as many games as you want. You can log in, make an account, play as much as you want. You can play 1 to 4 player games. Not that it matters. You only play 2-player games in DBS until we actually have a format for that. Great playtester, yeah, definitely. And then it's just free. So the main differences between this and as well as the Patreon, which is the Untap/Power Up accounts, is the $5 per month. Of course, you get a badge, which most people who already have it wear the badge, and I mean, it's whatever. You do get a playmat, which is the background for your different games. Basically, you do get desk sleeves, which means you can put an image where your actual sleeves would be, like the Untap sleeves would be. You can take a look at that. We'll take a look at it in a second. And then unlimited deck slots, which is the main reason why I wanted to do it. I make too many decks. You're gonna see how many decks I have, and I really needed it. So there's always that. And then we also have password protected games, which is nice. Elite only chat channels. I don't know. I never use that. So there you go. And then of course we have the Untamed, which is $20 a month. If you are a really huge, like a big supporter of Untap, I would highly recommend to pitch that $20 a month. $5 a month goes a long way. I personally think, you know, if you're going to be playing a lot, if you play like a few times a week even, I would highly recommend to do Patreon, as it does support a lot of different things for them. And then of course the Untamed is just, you get a badge, you're at the top of the list, and then everything here. So I don't know if that's really worth it. No offense to them. I don't know if that's really worth it, but it's really up to you, and it's your money. And if you want to take a look at how the playmats are, these are the playmats, how it shows here. I don't know if anybody else is showing sleeves. Like if we take a look here, yeah, no sleeves, but there's a playmat. You can kind of take a look there as far as what the playmats look like, and if you've seen any of my other videos, you can see how the sleeves look like as well. So let's start on the left real quick. The first one is the chat. So on the left, on default or by default is going to be starting on beginners. So there's a couple of different channels based on what you're going to be using. When it does pop up and you're brand new, it's going to ask you what channels there are. My first and pretty much only channel is going to be DBS. I might dabble in other card games, who knows, but right now I'm just focusing on this. And beginners has pretty much everybody in this channel, unless you somehow leave it or don't have it available. And then of course on the left side you can go ahead and just click on the DBS channel, and you can take a look at everybody who's on or around. Of course, here is the local or public chat. Everybody's in here who's gonna be talking. A lot of people do judge questions and things like that. So that's something to take a note of. They're just saying that Firefox is available. There is a night mode, which the one I usually use. I just switched it to day because I just wanted to see that difference there, or show the difference. Here's the real conduct. It basically means just don't be an asshole. It's not that hard to figure out. And then this is notify when a game starts. So a lot of people were giving, or I won't say a lot of people, but from time to time people always ask about the notifications. As I understand, which so far it has been okay, this little button will, if you turn it off, if you go to a game and it starts and you're not on that tab and you're not looking at Untapped, it will pop up for that game. So if you take that off, as I understand, it will not show. The other part of it is that Google Chrome notifications, if you go into the settings for Google Chrome, you can turn it off there. But as I understand, you do need that to actually operate for it. So there you go. On the left as well are all of the people, like I said, from Dragon Ball Super. So if you click on anybody's profile, you can take a look at how many games they have, and losses, draws, whatever, when they joined, last seen. If you want to add to their friend, if you want to block them, which is very useful, if you want to report them, which goes directly to the mod, shout out to Joel. And then if they're idle or online. And of course you can take a look at mine. You know, it's just I have a lot of decks and a lot of different stuff. I joined in April of last year, which is now beginning to look like a lot of time. And then you have your friends list, which as I understand how it works is that you can add a person as a friend, but they don't have to add you back. It's just showing as a friend. So like if you click on someone's name here and you added a friend, they won't get any notification from my experience, but you will have the ability to have like friends only games. And if you add it to your list, as in right here, you'll actually have them only from that list. You can only have people from that list to join you. So that's always something to keep watch of. And of course, people like Darkside, who hasn't been playing very often, will have a last seen of a year ago or whatever it shows. So definitely watch out for that and keep note of that. Of course, there's a blocked user list. I don't want to really show that, but there is all the people who you blocked. And then searching user, I think if you just search anybody's name, like Joel, it'll show it, like anybody's name, right? Just like it doesn't matter who it is. As long as you have the name for that, you can actually find them there. And as it shows on the right, as it just popped up, you can join games pretty quickly if you're in the chat and if you're not looking at the games tab. I will come back to the decks, but these are all the decks here. It'll show here. And then let's just take a look at the games real quick. So on the left, it'll have the type of game, which is just game, the type of game it is, which is just DBS. For everything else like Magic, it'll say MTG or whatever game it is. And then it'll say competitive, casual. You get the idea for that. These are the titles. These are the number of players. These are the players that are playing. On the left is the person who made it, and on the right is the person who joined. These are the options that you can do. If it has a password, it'll have a little lock on there and it'll ask you for the password. If it's private, as in you can't spectate it at all, it won't even show up on the list. So if someone had a private game with no spectators, sometimes I do that just so I can test some decks, and that way other people aren't seeing it before the video release, or maybe even other content creators, when you join it, it won't show up on the actual games list. So that's always something to kind of take a note of. We'll come back to spectating games in a second, but the other thing is stats. So you can take a look at how many games you actually played in basically, I don't know, the last couple weeks, I would say, at the very least, last 2 to 3 weeks, or last week to 2 weeks, I guess. A lot of days. Okay, you can kind of take a look at it, and then there's filters for February, January, and all these other ones. These are all the decks that I played either against or as, I do believe, and then the records for everybody. So I've played a lot of different people. I've been helping out Joel. Shout out to Joel. So hopefully that works out. I won a number of them. Sometimes I don't do it as far as like doing a record, because I just end up, you know, it's just a casual match. I don't really care about the record, but the other person who does record it will show up on their profile, and as well as the stats for that. So that's just something to keep in mind. Of course, there's all these other pages. I have 18 pages, so I don't want to look at them, but you can kind of take a look of how many hours I've spent on a given day on Untap for that time, and as many games. So as you can tell, I've spent a lot of time, so that's just great, right? Also to note, this is in beta, so if it goes wrong, oh well. All right, here is the account page. I don't think there's anything here that's really gonna show anything. I'm gonna blur out my email here, but I mean, that just makes sense. You have a few options. So this is my little avatar. I changed it to the Goku for Triple Flash because I was playing Triple Flash in ARG. And then you can change your profile image, which is this. You can remove it, and then the playmat, which I showed earlier, you can change it there too. If you are a Patreon, again, you have to pay that $5. Here are all the badges. So if you played too many games, you can put the 1,000 games played here, and then I just put the Patreon one because it looks nice, and you know, I support the guys. As you go on, you can earn some more. These are the ones I don't have, so there you go. Of course, you can change the password here. No really reason to go to that. The background image is I believe this one. Yeah. So if you want to take out the background image, you can do that. The in-game menus is either you can click or hover. I like to hover because you don't really have to really do anything. It's just there. In-game snap cards to grid. If you have these on, I do believe if you drag something onto the field, it will snap onto whatever grid that's actually there. So kind of given as far as that goes. The in-game card preview size, I keep it in medium whenever I'm playing. I think whenever I stream, I put it to large, but I'll put it to large just for now, just so you can see it. And then the in-game text display, hotkeys, and as well as the medium, other than the menu bar. So there you go. Pretty all self-explanatory. If you haven't checked it out as well, there is a wiki. If we go to it right now, this is a wiki, a universal wiki for untap.in, and it just explains what it is, but all the stuff on here on the right, it pretty much has all the information I'm giving to you right now, just in a text form. So if you're going to like create a deck, it actually has walkthroughs of how to create it, how to filter it, a kind of description of all the things that are there, even a GIF of how to drag over and then save it. And of course, all this other stuff is here. So from the chat, the chat commands, like tagging somebody, which I'll show you in a second, whispering and bolding. That's always stuff that is nice and good. And then we have games like joining games, the explanation of it. I would just highly recommend, if you didn't give enough information from this video, definitely go check out the wiki because it has pretty much everything. And they do have something that has something or some posts for the shuffling algorithm, because a lot of people love to actually blame it on the shuffle algorithm. So there you go. And of course, bugs and feedback, if you didn't know already, we'll take it directly to a mod. So if you wanna just like, you know, Joel is not a good mod, just go ahead and just, you know, it's improvement, you know, other, you know what I'm saying, window, you know what I'm saying, just go ahead and put that in there, send it over, it'll go directly to a mod and or staff / whoever is running Untap at that time. I do believe it goes to a whole plethora of people, so just like a forum, you know, any forum will have a mod team, it'll go to that, and then that way you can actually let them know about something. And finally, the last thing is logging out. You don't really need to do that. So let's go to the decks real quick. So a couple things to note, I have 236 decks simply because I just don't want to delete any of the ones I had before. I just feel like if I had an idea before, I'd be like, maybe I should approach that idea again. So let's see if it's any good. But again, it's just because I have infinite decks. Eventually, I'm going to reduce this to like less than 100 at the very least. One of these days, because a lot of the stuff is outdated and I don't play it. So yeah, a lot of decks. If you're curious of what I'm working on lately, these are all the ones I'm working on lately. As far as creating a deck, it is at the top right. I will go through it, but this is how to search your tag filters. That's my last pass, but if you search, I don't have any tags, but if you had a tag there, it will filter it out immediately for the tag that you place. So let's go ahead and just make a deck. The best meta deck ever. And we'll go ahead and make a deck here in which I'll kind of go through all of the things. But before I do that, on the left side here, obviously you already have the title. You can edit it at any time. You can go through the tags. So if you had like mono red, or I don't know. I think it does get separated by comma, but let's go ahead and try spaces for now. Let's go do mono red baby, and then if we, oops, red. Okay, that didn't work. Oh, that's why, because I didn't save it. So let me go and do that again. So save deck, go back, mono red baby. There you go. So you can see it there. That's a really good example of like what not to do and what to do there. So there you go. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and just add baby. So there's a few different things that you have to consider. So again, oh, just to touch on this, the tags are right there, so that's fine. As soon as you I think it is mono red. Yeah, okay, there you go. So if you click out of it or tab out of it, it'll make a new one. So there you go. If you do that, you can go ahead and filter out by tags. You can add a description, and then the advanced deck options I don't really use too often, but if you want to experiment with these, you can. It's not really needed. Anyway, so if you do search here, it'll populate everything that has the word that you have it in. So like even the bobbity is similar to baby. So it'll go through and find whatever is similar to or the direct word for it. So obviously you're going to need the baby here or Vegeta baby, which is the actual one. To add anything, you just have to drag it over from one area to another. And then just make sure to save it. So one big thing to remember is that the first card that you save into it or you drag into it is going to be the card that you actually have here. So if you have another baby because you just humping around out here, you can just do this and then add this card, save it, and then the first card or the first image that you're going to be doing is the first card that you have. So let's go ahead and delete that there. Of course, you can clone and you can hit stats, which is coming soon, but delete and clone are pretty much the most useful here. So let's go back here. Before we add any of the cards or any more of the cards, there's a few things to consider. The advanced deck options, has the default quantity is the same thing as over here, or at the bottom right, that is. The added card to missing database, or add a missing card to the database. I would highly recommend not to do this because there's a lot of cards which, for example, the Son Goku, if you type in Son Goku and you're looking for the yellow 3-drop vanilla card, you're not really going to find it because there are 109 cards and it doesn't really have it in the list. So you're going to have to be specific with that or make a new card. So what happens with a lot of people or a lot of situations, what I've seen, is that you add different cards that are not there with the same name. But the other thing is that as soon as you add that card, it may have a duplicate. So for instance, if you have, oops, I do believe Vanilla, oh my, the Vanilla Son Goku is right here. But the thing is that if you type in the bottom right number here, the card number or the set ID, you'll actually find that card. So if you go P066, it'll actually find their actual card. So that in turn is kind of a duplicate for that. So if there is ever a card that is like a vanilla and then it has like a normal name like this or a duplicate name like this, I would highly recommend to search the set ID first before doing anything or before adding anything. If you're doing it for the memes, as far as like for seeing hit like this for seeing hit versus this for seeing hit. I mean, I'm not gonna fault you, but I would highly recommend, again, reading the disclosure here, just saying that it's tracked by your user account, and any intentional disruption will probably get you banned. So there you go. And of course, you can go ahead and go through this if you do it, as in if there's a card release, like the Agent of Destruction as of the time of the recording just got released. You can go ahead and do the set release ID, the card image type, like the official print or something else. A URL to that image. I would highly recommend using Imager or something that lasts a long time, since you can't upload it to the actual website, and then link it to it so that way it doesn't go down, because as soon as it goes down, it'll have a like a stop sign error message type thing, so watch out for that. The other thing is paste deck from text. So let's say if you had a sweet ass deck, for instance, I have this one. It's a Piccolo deck that I play casually. It's a pretty good deck. Like if you ever, like, I was gonna put this on the channel, but I was like, whatever. But it's a pretty good deck. I might come back to it though. If you ever had that, and let's say if you go to the top right of DBS decks, or yeah, I don't think Shenron later does it, but I know for sure DBS decks, as soon as you get to it, for instance here, you can go ahead and go to the deck options, export to text file, and then you'll get a text file in which you can just go ahead and paste it. So when you do paste it, there's a few things to kind of keep in mind. So the first thing is the play, which it'll detect it, but it won't put it in there. So the main deck is pretty much the only thing you only have to do. You can always do clear existing cards in the deck and then import only official prints if you want to. So if we do this and we take out baby, I will show you that the Piccolo, since it has multiple names in the database, isn't there. So if you go here where it says failed to import, it'll say Piccolo and then to E Supreme Kai, which you can just click and then remove the number and then put that bad boy in there. So if you ever need the Piccolo deck, this one's pretty fun. It just loses to a number of things, so I didn't want to play it anymore. So I didn't want to, like, I had a cool concept with it for it. I was just like, looks fun. But with the new set 6 stuff, I think it would be even more fun. Neither here nor there. This might be not even relevant a month from now when you're watching this, so don't worry about it. Anyway, so there's that as far as pasting a deck from text. You can download a deck as well. So now that we have a deck, we can go ahead and download with the set IDs as far as the numbers on the right, at the bottom right of the card, and as well as without the set IDs. So pretty useful. So if you're going to be doing like import again later on, or if you're going to be giving this to another person to test on Untap, definitely highly recommend to download the deck with the set IDs, give it to them, and then that would be pretty cool. Import from URL. I tried Shenron's later and as well as DBS decks, but haven't really had that much luck as far as the URL to deck option goes. But I would say you can still try it. That's all I can say. Because I don't know. And then of course you can clear the cards and then view the database, all the cards that we had before. So Son Goku, I think it will show everything, and as well as who uploaded it or who it belongs to. It'll have a little preview here, the set ID, the person who did it or added it, the name of it, or if you want to edit the title. Of course, I don't recommend doing that, so that way we can have a nice little Scout's honor when it comes down to it. That's pretty much it. So if you go back, you can see your deck here. Obviously, it's a Piccolo deck. That's the downside when it comes to the image there. I don't know if you can change the image. Pretty sure you can't change the image on here or from the preview. You just have to name it accordingly. If there is a way to do that, please let me know. There is a filter here from A to Z. Kind of an easier way to find a card here. There is also, what is the other thing? The deck backs. So if we had an image, which I'll find right now, one of my favorite images here, you can go ahead and if you go ahead and hold shift, you can resize it if you wanted to, but if you go ahead and just save it and then look here, this is what the sleeves will be looking like. So pretty cool. And now, last but not least, let's go ahead and play a game. So at the top right, there is a new game option. There is a option for the drop downs. As I understand, if you have multiple ones toggled or to your preference, it's actually going to give you an option to play whichever one. You can go ahead and place whatever title that you want. I'm just going to go ahead and put that. And then there's 3 different styles. They all have their own description. They're pretty self-explanatory. If you're a beginner, if you haven't played very much, either the game or Untapped, please use this one. If you're casual but you know how to play on Untapped, use that one. And then competitive, of course, can be competitive. It's going to be the decks that are meta / anything that you know is going to be played in the future or right now. And then we have solo, 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, up to 6 if you are on the Patreon. And then the game password, if you're on Patreon yet again, you can just set it to testing. It'll show it there. If someone else has your password and has allow spectators, it will actually go ahead and allow them if they have the spectators. If they don't, you're only allowing one person with the password with no spectators. And of course, friends only, like I said before, with that, and then powered up, like I said before, with that. So let's go ahead and put a testing with no spectators. I already know no one's going to be able to join, so I'll be safe in doing so. With the solo, you can put a mirror person. It's just not really useful in this game, so there you go. Let's go ahead and insert a deck real quick, and then that way we can go through the stuff on the left. So you can leave the game. Obviously, it's going to tell you to end it, so don't do that. One thing that people don't realize is that you can change decks and build decks as you're waiting by toggling the lobby and going to the chat or any of the top options here. And of course, you have all of this stuff here. So if you're in a game or trying to join one, you can still do it. If you're not in one, that is. And then you can go to your decks, modify it, and then go back to your game under games, hit enter, and then insert that deck yet again by switching this one to the next one. So that's how you update the deck without actually leaving, and that's probably the best way to do it. Of course, you can sideboard. We'll get to that in a second. The other thing is that you can show the info on the left with the title, the number of minutes that you have been in it, so like an hour. So the left side is the current match, and the right side, or the current game, as it says, and the right side is the match itself. So if you've been in the match or played like 4 or 5 games, but you've been in there for 3 hours, it's going to say 3 hours here. And of course, the spectators, in which you can click on them, and then it'll show you their profile. And then we also have insert deck, which I just showed. So if you want to play a different deck, you can, and then go into that as well. I think with the large preview, you can take a look on the right side. That is the largest as it gets. And I think the actual cards are a little bit larger as well, which I kind of like, so I might keep it like this. And then we do have scoop. So if you just scoop, it'll reset the game itself. So all the stuff on the field, in your hand, everywhere else is gone. And then a scoop in sideboard. If you had any cards in the sideboard, which we can go ahead and do real quick. Let's say I wanted to sideboard in Tau because people just love Tau now with Lord Slug, apparently. I'm gonna have to reset. Whoops. I'm clicking on stuff like a madman. Let's go ahead and do this, which we will go ahead and sideboard here. So if you want to switch out Dark Temptation, Toa, or whoever, you can go ahead and switch out Tau on the right side. So you can go ahead and do that and just drag it over. Most of the stuff that you do use in this game is going to be dragging over. I'm going to show this in a second, but this is the Find deck, so that way you can take a look at your entire deck. But if we go into the sideboard and then sub out these Dark Temptations for the Taus, Taus, and save it, I can go ahead and go out here, find card, and then now we have all the Taus into the deck. So it'll also give you an up-to-date text option or text version of what's happening, as in 4 cards. So if your opponent is about to sideboard in and they have like 9 cards and you're playing Broly, you better get ready for that Haru up in that up in that ass. So that's always good. And then we have scoop. like I said, insert card to token. So there's a couple cool things to do this. So if someone is playing a card and you don't know it and they want to take a look at it as you are doing something, you can go ahead and just search a card. So like Gotense, I don't know what Gotense does because it's been a long time. It's been like 30 sets and I don't know what it does. Like the Super Saiyan Goten, you can go ahead and hover over it. You can insert to your hand, which I would recommend to do. Remove for the search, which I don't know why you would. And then insert to play. And of course, this one will have the options for it. So if you had, for instance, Frieza, and then you had multiple options, you can go ahead and insert it from here. So if you're like, oh yeah, I don't know, Frieza, I guess, the red Frieza, I think, and you just put this in there, you can go ahead and hover over it, and then you can go ahead and talk about that right then and there, I guess. To remove it, because it's from outside of the game, you can drag it into any of the drop areas or warp, and then it'll remove it from the game. So that's pretty cool. And then anything that's recent, like the body change getting you that I was doing, you can just go ahead and place it there too. So that's always nifty. We do have a alert option or alert response. It's just going to be a response if they have notifications on. The notification will be up there as well, and then if you just want to use it, you can. Especially since if you're going to be cold bloodlusting something and you can't type it in like cold bloodlust, or if you're not fast enough to drag it out, that's always something. And then no response usually is for the combo or counter phase, and you just say no response if you have no response to what they're doing, basically. Or if they're playing counter and you're playing yellow, you hit no response, it's going to be no response to that counter for battering. Draw on play area, not really much use. Some people use this as in like, hey, I'm going to attack this card, or I'm targeting this one, or I'm targeting my own card, right? There's a few things that are, or a few different options that are better than that, so I wouldn't really recommend to do that. I usually use it just to draw dicks on the battle area. Yep. And then as you have different cards on the field that are tapped or not tapped, right? And you have some of these which are like tap for energy, and you're about to pass turn, or it is your turn right after, you can go ahead and untap all, and it'll untap everything that's on the field, and as well as anything that you put on the field. So energy, battle area, battle cards, whatever it may be. Of course, this is the roll. So this is, I do believe, a 6 die. This is a 10 die. This is a 20 die. Most people use 20. And then finally, the hotkeys. A lot of people love talking about hotkeys with me. I just don't use them. I always forget them. The only ones I actually use are the ones that are used for like everyday use, I guess. There are some ones that I'm learning that to use. So yeah, no, yeah, okay. But the global hotkeys are pretty useful. I don't really use them, but like the alert response and no response are pretty good ones to use. If you click on it, you can go ahead and change the hotkey if you wanted to. The other thing is that the hover on hotkeys are pretty useful as well. So if you wanted to send a card to drop area or warp or life points or to the bottom of the deck, you can do that, and as well as the H for shaking, which is probably the preferred way to target a card and show them. For instance, if you wanted to do that, I'm going to press H on the towel, so that way it shakes. I'm going to press D on the towel, so that way it goes to the drop area. I'm going to press W, nope, S, oh, I'm getting better, S on the Gohan, it goes to warp. So there you go. Now you know some hotkeys. You can always assign them, and as well as hover over where it shows what it does. So there you go. All right, let's scoop it up real quick so that way I can show you a number of things. Again, when it comes to the cards itself, the biggest thing is to switch it to tapped, in which the pivot 90 is going to be the best thing to do, especially going to be swinging. So let's say if you're going to be swinging to leader, you're going to be going and pivot to 90, and then if they're chilling, most of the time you're going to be using shake card, or if you're fancy like me, you can go ahead and go to the third option over here and then target source, in which it will show where it's going to. So again, you can do that with a lot of different things. You can do that with your own cards, their cards, whatever. There are other times where you can invert, so you're going to be charging. You can do that. It has a little energy icon. Again, this is universal. In Magic, I do believe you do it upside down too, so there you go. And then with these, these are just troll. You know, there's not really a, let's face it, there's not really a big thing for this, right? What are we doing here? In what instance, what universe is this useful, huh? Can someone tell me? Can someone tell me in the comments how this is useful? Can someone tell me? Okay, all right. And then we got the pivot, in which it will do, like, I mean, it's just a fancy way to doing the other stuff. This will pivot back into the upright position. So there you go. A couple things. I'll move over to this card where it's a little bit better. The middle ones are generally deck related or area related, in which this is going to the top of the deck. So if I put it on the top of the deck, let's just go ahead and draw it back, and then and do it that way. You can go to the bottom of the deck, and when you do that, it'll actually have a little number right here at the top right of where it says main deck. So if you do 0, it's at the top of the deck. If you do 1, it's the second card. If you do 49, it's at the bottom, because at the time of you putting it in there are 49 cards, and now the top card is the 50th card. So if we go ahead and put that bad boy out, and go and look at the top, the other ones, which you can go set it to your life points, which obviously that's where it's going to be, and then to warp, to drop area, and to hand, in which you go right back to your hand. Of course, for any of these areas in which this is the life points, this is the warp, this is the drop area, this is the hand, you can go ahead and drag it over to any of those areas, which you have to click on for this one and for the other ones, and make sure to put it in there, or that would make sure it goes into that. So that, there you go. A few other things as far as the third option, you can clone a card. So if it has like something like tokens, like the 3-drop Goku Black, or any of the Goku Black stuff, where it creates tokens, this will have a little clone option there. So that's pretty cool. You can go ahead and do that. Same thing like the cards outside of the game. You can just drag it out and it'll remove it. And then this one will go face down. Not really many people will really do that. If you want to do that to differentiate between one card to another, you can do that. And then you can add a note. So Eggman sucks. We'll go ahead and do that. And then if you hover over it, I do believe, I think. Okay, well, at least it's here. I forget. Okay, listen, I don't listen. Do you did? Okay, yeah, you click it. Okay, I was about to say, I was just like, I don't know. I think when they make a note, it shows it, and then it shows at the top right here. So that's always nice, right? And then what else? So we have alternate face. So the alternate face would be the awakening. So you just flip it right over. Obviously, if you do this with a normal card, it does not do anything to the card. So there you go. And then we have counters. So I forget. I'm gonna let you know right now. I forget how to actually add the counter, like a custom number for it. So if anybody has that in the comments, Joel, someone else, please let me know, so that way I can do that. But if you click on it with the left click, it will add to it, and the right click, if you right click on it, it will go into the negative. So if you're playing against baby or something that has red and is minusing the fuck out of you, go ahead and use the right click, because it will designate a negative, basically. And of course, if it's negative 5k, this thing's dead, so don't worry about that. It's going to the drop. So that's the drop, that's the life, this is the hand. A few things as far as a number of other things go for the deck, because I wanted to save it for this. The draw can be drawing one into your hand, and then the number of cards to draw here are 2, 3, 7, and the number of cards, if you want to draw 4, like for Toa, you can do that. Play, if you want to play the top card, like for Whis or something, you can do that if you'd like. And play face down, don't really have that in this game, but there you go. If you want to mill something like Mass Saiyan, you can tap on the 3, the drop 3, and to warp, same thing. If you want to do life points, generally I would do a number on the right, type in 8, and then that way you have 8 life points, or cards in life, basically. Shuffle, which shows you the V sign to click on here, or you can click on V on your keyboard to shuffle multiple times. And I think people multi-shuffle just because, this just how we do it. Show sideboard, I do believe it is the sideboarded cards in which you put in Expand cards, I don't really use that, so don't worry about that. Keep flipped. I like the top card. I don't think that really applies to us. And then look at top 3 and find card, and flip top, not really. Look at top 3 and find card are the most important, as in if you look at the top 3, it'll show you the top 3 from here. If you wanted to look at the top 7, you can just type in 7 here and then look at the top 7 and do it that way as well. Of course, after you shuffle, it will no longer show that to you here. And then find card from the deck. You can go ahead and just find the card, drag it out, whatever you need, or just shuffle again in case you don't need anything. You can indeed zoom in on the top right in case I didn't go through that as well. A number of things as far as the hand goes, everything applies to it. I'm not going to go through that again. Everything applies to the same thing from the hand to the deck. If you're going to get Zenoed, best way to do it is probably just to send the top or bottom, so that way your whole entire hand goes through it. You hit the V a couple times and then you just draw 5 cards. And the other thing is that this option here gives you quite a lot of options as far as your hand to the opponent. So like if you keep it revealed, you can keep it revealed to your spectator. So if there's a spectator in the audience, you can go ahead and just click on their name. Keep revealed is just to show them all, but I usually use reveal all at once, so that way spectators and as well as the opponent can show it. One thing to remember is that it does have the little eye there. Some people keep it revealed the whole time, and I'm like, cool. I'm not going to tell you because I want to win. So, but in the future, please make sure to unreveal, and it will show here when they reveal and as well as conceal and put that away. So that's always good. And of course, you can shuffle your hand in case you're playing against a Broly or Hirudegan. You can mulligan if you want to, and put those cards and reshuffle into it. I don't ever use that because it's just kind of silly, so I just don't. So there you go. And finally, if you are going to be using find card or any of the functions that I've shown you, if you have an opponent, as far as let's say if you want to shake a card, you can shake the card on their end. If you want to hover over one of their cards in their hand and hit reveal, it'll send a request saying this is going to go to reveal, or this is going to reveal. Or if you're going to be putting from this card to the top of the deck like Hirudegan, you can go ahead and request that, and it forces them to say yes or no, and you can see it in the chat. So I highly recommend to do that instead of shaking to choose, if you have that option. And the last one is that if you hit find card on their deck, it will request to see their entire deck. So please, instead of using this one where you can find the deck and then you can go over here and hit play, which by the way, you can use all the functions that I've shown you. You can hit 30 cards to play. It will show all the cards on the field, but I highly recommend not to do that. I would just go ahead and just use the find card, so that way you can see it in a very nice fashion and see the entire deck in its glory. But other than that, other than the voice that's coming soon, which most people use Discord anyway, so I don't really see the point of that, but I can see why they would put that in there. That is pretty much it. I think I went through everything. It's gonna be a very long video, so I apologize for that. My voice is pretty much shot at this point. So definitely let me know in the comments whatever I missed or anything that you have questions about. Like, dislike, subscribe if you're new. I put a lot of work into this one and any other video that I do, because I will continue to do that, and then I will see you in the next one. Later.